we'll answer questions. Anything anybody wants to talk about? Yes.
Could you talk about Sylvester Williams and what he's brought? Does he look like a pretty tough guy to block?
Well, Sylvester's extraordinarily active. I think if you were going to describe him as a football player, he's got a lot of just, you know, short area quickness. He's explosive. He's powerful at the point of attack. You know, clearly as a guy that comes into your program in a short amount of time, he's had a chance to make some impression on our football team and our coaching staff. One, because you know, he's got 2 years of college experience. I mean, here's a kid, it's not like the typical high school defensive line that comes in and he's kind of starstruck and feeling his way. I mean, this guy came in with a mission that he wanted to play. He wanted to compete for a starting job. He wanted to get himself, you know, in that rotation to know that he's going to have a chance to play. And he's done everything that we've ever asked him to do. I mean, he's a terrific worker in the weight room. He runs, he lifts. He's been a great inspiration in that meeting room, I think. As in the case, I mean, we felt really good about Tydrick Powell, and we felt really good, you know, about Jordan Nix. We thought, here's two guys that are seniors, they've been in the program for a long time, but they, just like everybody else, they need competition. They need somebody trying to take their job away from them. And I think that Sylvester has provided not only his own personal motivation, but I think it's helped spur them along to not get complacent and not say, you know, I can just kind of put it on autopilot and I can cruise. And you know, we're very happy that Sylvester's in this program.
As inexperienced as you are in the secondary, how much did the field time that guys like Trey and Maiwan and all the guys that got field time, how much further are you along now than you would have been?
Clearly, you know, I don't know how much, 30, 40, 50%, but I guess probably the best answer, the way to approach that is that we have a pretty good idea of how they're going to play. Now we've got to go back, and I thought Everett Withers and Troy Douglas had a great approach to this. It would be really easy to say, okay, they started when those other guys couldn't play, and they got some game experience, and just to take off from where they were, and they didn't do that. We actually kind of rolled the clock back and said, you know what, you guys played, you gained some experience, but you're really not very good football players right now. You need to go back, and you've got to get really good at fundamentals and techniques, jams and reroutes, pedaling, transitions, route recognition. And that'll be the challenge, because sometimes it's hard. I got to be honest with you. It's hard for a kid when you get given an opportunity to play to go back and accept the fact that there's a lot of things you've got to improve on, and that's kind of where all those young kids are.
Coach, you come into spring with a list of questions.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of spring, and you have one more practice, but do you feel like which of those questions were you able to answer in spring practice?
Gosh, there's a lot, because we are replacing 20 seniors and 20 guys that are part of the program. Probably the quarterback situation, I mean, you want to see, you know, the comfort level and the poise and the confidence does your quarterback exhibit when he goes into the huddle. I mean, and you know, I think that there's something that I've noticed in the great quarterbacks that I've been around, from the Troy Aikmans and the Bernie Kosars, the Vinny Testaverdes, and all the guys that we had that I've been around. When they walked in the huddle, the other 10 guys believed everything they said, that no matter whether it's a good play or a bad play, this guy's going to make it work. And I think that Bryn's boyish eagerness, I mean, you guys are going to be around him, and you've been around him. I mean, he's a gregarious, passionate, high-strung, passionate. He loves to play, and he's excitable, and that can be contagious. That's infectious. I mean, everybody's like, man, this guy's geeked up. He's ready to go, and so they want to play to the same level that he does. He just got to realize that there's a lot of things that he's not ready to do yet, but he will if he'll keep working.
Coach, can you talk about Josh Hunter's transition to safety and how he played out there today?
Well, we actually tried to transition Josh a little bit last year. Corner safety, trying to figure out. He made the one really good break for an interception. He should have intercepted the one that Christian Wilson caught right in front of him, and it was like we practiced so much where there's no contact and no tackling, and it was almost like he was taking one of those reps. It's like, okay, I'm going to let him catch it. Oh, I can tackle him. Oh, yeah, it's live. And but those are game experiences. That's stuff that you've got to do. The more scrimmages that kids like you get in, the better that they'll play.
Well, Giovanni didn't play today, but where is he as far as his recovery? And in August, do you anticipate when August camp begins, he's going to be 100% ready to contact?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he could have probably gone through full speed contact work this spring, but it was like, why? You know, I mean, why run the risk when you know that after today's scrimmage, basically, I think we've got 135 days before the very first game, so why push the envelope? Why not let this kid that we think has got some skills and talent, let him get 100% completely healthy. And but he did an awful lot that not only do we have an appreciation for what he could do and what we think he can do. I think from a confidence standpoint, I think it really helped him to go through all the drills. He went through just about everything other than the 3 scrimmages that we had this spring.
Did something happen to Ryan Houston today, or did you just see enough of him in the first series?
A combination of both. He got hit on the shoulder, and it was a little bit of a stinger, and they said, you know, give him 5-10 minutes, and he can probably come back. And I said, he doesn't need to. You know, we've seen all of him that we need to see.
Coach, have you decided, is AJ going to be a quarterback or running back or what?
Well, I think clearly for right now, I mean, because obviously, you know, we're trying to decide who the starter is going to be, but we really truly need to find out who's going to be the backup quarterback. I mean, and we've got the 3 kids, obviously Marquise Williams and Braden Hanson, who I want to pay a little bit of a tribute to. He has had a remarkably good spring. He has really worked extraordinarily hard, changed his body, and he and AJ obviously are pushing each other to try to see if who's going to be the backup quarterback. And I think, you know, we all felt pretty confident and fairly comfortable last year that if, God forbid, something would happen to TJ Yates for a half or a game, you know, Bryn Renner could come in, and we kind of thought, okay, well, we think we can win the game. We got to get that same comfort level with a backup quarterback. Whether it's for a half or half of a season, you never know. I mean, you want to make sure that you've got guys coming that can play.
Coach, you talk about people changing their body. I guess Ryan has changed his body a little bit.
Ryan Houston?
Yeah.
Very much so. You know, and he did it last year prior to the start of last season because he really knew that for endurance's sake, for speed, quickness, I think the one run that he did get hit today, you saw, I mean, he's got a lot more burst and a lot more explosion at or near the line of scrimmage. In previous seasons, we always envisioned him as the guy that was just, I mean, he was just a strong, powerful runner that could move the pile, great in short yards and goal line. Now, I mean, he wants to be in every down and back. He doesn't want to be a guy that's just relegated to unique, special situations, and he can still do that, but now he's a guy that he's worked hard on catching the ball out of the backfield, and I think a lot of it, he's gone from 255, 258, maybe even close to 260 down to the high 230s, and I think it's really helped him.
Talking about your offensive line, Jonathan Cooper has made progress each year. Is he ready to really take off this year?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think he's got a lot of confidence. He's an intelligent kid. I mean, he's very athletic. His ability to pull, be in space, he's got excellent balance. He does a really good job playing guard in college football. I mean, he's going to draw almost every single week. He's going to get a 325-pound big defensive tackle in his face, and his leverage levels are about as good as anybody that I've seen. He can really powerfully at the point of attack get underneath guys, move them, and he's got the good feet that if anybody's a really good accomplished basketball, he can change the direction with them.
Coach James Hurst, now that he's got some experience, just James Hurst, just how good can he be now that he knows what's going on?
He's got a chance to be uniquely special. And the thing I would tell you that I like about James Hurst as much as anything, as good as he is from an athletic standpoint, he works his fanny off. I mean, every day in practice, I mean, he is competing. He's not satisfied to just kind of rest on laurels and just kind of put it on. I mean, this guy really wants to be the best, and you have to admire him and respect him when you watch him practice.
Coach, overall big picture, where are you guys going into next year as a program? Do you feel confident that you can continue making progress, you know what I'm trying to say?
Our expectations are. I mean, we've got a lot of growth that's got to take place in these next 4 months getting ready for this season. I don't know that any other program in the entire ACC has as many voids to fill. You look at the number of guys, obviously, that went to the combine, the number of guys that might potentially get drafted or signed as free agents. That's a huge void in this football program. But by the same token, I think we've recruited well. We've got a lot of kids that played last year, but you know, we've got to gain some experience. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest areas that we took a big hit in is just the number of games that those guys played in that we don't have now.
However,
and Ryan here.
However, because of what happened, some guys did get snaps. We're talking about a lot of playing time. You mentioned some of the DBs are about 30, 40, maybe 50% ahead of where they would have been. What about just across the board? Because it wasn't just the guys that got suspended. It was a lot of injuries. A lot of players were pressured into playing time last year, even on special teams that normally wouldn't have gotten out there. Absolutely. So how much more experience is your team now than it would have been if none of that stuff would have happened?
if nothing else came out of that, I think a lot of them got their eyes opened of what they need to do to become accomplished players in the ACC. I think some of them played, and some of them played well. Some of them didn't play as well as they need to play, but now they know areas that they've got to get better at. You know, with the Hunter Fur, you know, there's a lot of guys, as you talked about, that had little bitty limited roles because somebody got hurt and they had to come in and they had to play. Kareem Martin, Tim Jackson in the defensive line. You know, there's a lot of guys, and hopefully, you know, hopefully it'll make an impression to continue to work through the spring and over the summertime. But, you know, we've got a lot of work to do to get to where we need to be.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank
We're
you.
going to bring